everyone, my name is Prasad Amonkar. I am real estate consultant and real estate coach, and today I am going to talk to you something about fraudulent activity in real estate. As a customer, you need to be very careful. Suppose you have an apartment which is to be rented. What do you expect? You expect your real estate agents to get you one good client. Could be a family, it could be a bachelor, maybe it could be a company guest house, but anything which you bring to him should be coming from a reliable source. And if it is not coming from a proper source, then at least a proper tenant verification. I mean it. In some cases, people don't do a proper tenant verification. They just submit the form to the nearest police department, and then they get it acknowledged. You need to take your client. If you don't know this particular tenant, you need to take that tenant to the police station and get him verified. Get the tenant verified by the cops there and there itself. What a customer, what a landlord, the owner of a property, what he expects from you? He expects a good client from you. He expects money to come to him regularly. Now in this case, the client was telling me the agent took money from the tenant, prospective tenant, and he did not deliver the product. The agent had the owner's key with him. He had the keys and he was showing the apartment to a lot of clients. But the owner was not interested in giving the property on rent for a particular amount. The rent amount was 40,000 and the agent was quoting about 25,000 in the market. Imagine if you are going to a property which is worth 40,000 and an agent is giving it to you for 25,000. What would you do? You would be excited and you would want to kind of block that property for you, right? Now in that bargain, when you are actually in a hurry, what as a client, what as a tenant, you will want to block that property against some token. Now in such cases, the token is always 1 month rental. If you don't pay a 1 month rental, the agent or the owner will not block that apartment for you. Why so? The reason behind, suppose you come in the month of Jan, or let's say now currently we are in the month of August. So if you come in the month of August, 2nd of August, you want to block that property, you will be giving about 1 month's rental. Now immediately once the token is given to the customer, to the owner of the apartment, the owner and the agent will stop showing the property to customers, to next customers. Why? Because he's already got the money for that particular month. Suppose you give 15 days of token, then the chances are that after 15 days you might not want to go for that apartment and the owner will be at loss, right? So that's the reason 1 month token, 1 month rent, equivalent to 1 month rent token is always accepted. In this situation, in this case, because the apartment cost was about 40,000 rupees, it was worth 40,000 and the tenant was getting it at 25,000. He immediately said, okay, I want to go for it, let's block it, give me the customer's account number and I'll transfer the money into his account and whatever, then block the apartment. In this case, the agent said, the customer, the owner is not in Goa and you cannot transfer money into his account, you'll have to pay in cash or you'll have to transfer into my account. Now you are getting a good deal, you are getting a deal which is like 15,000 less than the market price. What will you do? You have to be very careful when you feel that something is really lucrative, which is actually not possible in the market. So he paid him 15,000 or 25,000 straight cash and said block this. Now when you are an agent and when you are meeting a lot of clients, the customers want to trust you. It's not customer's fault, it's not the prospective tenant's fault. They go with you, they go around with you in your car or probably in their car, and when you build a rapport, they feel that okay, you are going to be the best real estate agent for them and they are going to find the best property for them, and that's how they fall onto your entire plan. So that particular agent, I won't call him an agent because real estate agents are not fraud. Real estate agents will not do this because a good real estate agent, there's no bad real estate agent. There can be either a good realtor or no realtor. It can't be like you are not a good real estate agent, then you can't be a real estate agent at all because you are playing with someone's money. A lot of money involved. Real estate is a high ticket value. Anyways, come back to this situation. The money was paid to him and then gayab. That person was not traceable, and he does this for a period of about 5-6 days or 1 week or 1 month probably, and he dupes about maybe particular number of clients, I don't know, and then he gets vanished. And then maybe probably he will come after a few months and then he starts again. If you really want to do so much of things, you don't have to. You have to just be a proper good real estate agent. Get some inventory, get some clients, make that sale and make some good money. You don't have to do all that. I'll tell you what, you will make much more money legally. You don't have to do all these things. you make do a good networking setup of yours, have good knowledge of real estate. You should match the properties, you should be patient, you should be hardworking, you should be more of open-minded, you should have a lot of patience first of all, you have to be calm and while handling customers. If you are doing all these things, you will be a good real estate agent. So in this situation, now another fraudulent story, now let's come back to the same situation. So as a customer, if you are a tenant, what you need to do is, you need to transfer the money into the customer's account. There is no option. Okay, now it has happened many times with me that the client has paid me. They trust me and they have paid me into my account, or they have paid me some by check to block the property. That's fine, but I can take that kind of risk. I mean, because I know that I'm going to pass it on to the customers. But I do not advise this. I do not accept money from the customer. The money has to go unless it is a situation where you cannot help it. Like the owner is not reachable, or the owner's account is blocked, or whatever the reason may be. Maybe in my entire career I must have taken maybe once or twice. But I do not advise this. The money has to go into the right account. And if it comes into your account as an agent, what will you show it as? You know, what kind of income you are going to show at the end of the year, at the end of the financial year. So let the money go into the first thing, go into the customer's account, right? Second thing, before that money going into the customer's account, you need to send them the draft, the leave and license agreement draft. Until and unless you finalize the leave and license agreement draft, do not make any payment. Because once you make the payment and tomorrow the terms and conditions are not met, both do not agree to the terms and conditions, then why have you paid? And you don't have to send the entire draft. As an agent, what we do is, we have certain points, and especially it happens in case of commercial, when it comes to commercial properties and all, the company send the checklist, they have certain specifications. So similarly, in a residential leave and license agreement, what we do is, we have a checklist. We write the terms and conditions, like it starts with the period, the time period, the duration of the entire stay, the amount, the deposit, the termination clause, and some locking period, and then damages, minor repairs, major repairs, and all that thing is taken care. And that's how you agree to the agreement. Now, if you are going to write something more than this, something critical, then you need to tell the tenant. As an owner or as an agent, you need to tell this to your client that this is going to be a special condition. So if the tenant agrees to that special condition, then fine, then you can transfer that token. So first thing is, get that agreement, okay, get that terms and condition of agreement finalized. And most very, very important thing is that you should understand the intention of the client. The owner, you should know, you should gauge the owner. If you think that this owner is going to trouble you over a period of time, then you better don't go for it. If you think that this tenant is going to trouble you, if you have the smallest of the doubt, then you have to think twice, thrice, 5 times, whatever, before getting onto the papers, before putting everything on the paper. So this is the second. The first thing is the person is very important, then the paper, then the money, and then finally, of course, before that you will go and visit the site again. You will visit the apartment again. Check. If all the appliances, if all the fittings are fine, if if the house is clean, if the pest control is done, or if you think that some plumbing work is to be done, or if you find that something has to be repaired, get it sorted out there and there itself. Because after a few months, the owner will forget, the tenant will be after the owner, and the owner will be pissed off with the tenant. So such things may happen. So try to sort it out from the first day itself. Whenever you are taking a handover, fine. Do not pay the money to the agent as a token. Always send it to the customer, because that's how you are blocking the property. If on the same day, for example, if you have made the payment to the agent and you don't know, the owner has got another client and he has accepted the token from that client, then what happens? Now you are stuck. The agent cannot do anything, because the owner has given word to some other party, and agent's word has no meaning, right? Because the property belongs to the owner of that property, right? It belongs to him or her. He or her, they are going to decide whom to give and whom to not. Now, what these people do? There are not many people as such. I'm just saying, I have one example. In that, what he does is, he will show the same property, same apartment to many clients. He will show the same property to many clients, and he will accept token from many clients. Imagine, if the rent is 25,000, he will take it from 5 or 10 people, and he makes about 1 lakh or 2 lakhs, and then that's it. So we don't know how it happens. Sometimes I wonder why the owners are giving their flat key to the agents whom they don't know. I have the keys of apartment of some clients whom I trust and they trust me. See, it is both ways. If I don't trust the owner, then I will not accept the keys. If the owner doesn't trust me, he will not give the keys. As simple as that. And if you have doubt, do not give it. Not required. Every time, see how many clients you will have, how many times you will have to go to show the apartment. Maybe 10 times or 15 times or 20 times. So whenever the clients come, you can send your own person from the office, or you can send one of your staff, the relative, and get it visited by the customers. It's simple, so that you do not blame anyone later on. If there is any kind of damage or something is misplaced or someone has flipped something, you don't have. And as an agent, I would advise you, do not take the keys of the customer's flat if it is fully furnished. If it is fully furnished or if it is semi-furnished. So that means there are some electronic items. That means the entire property is furnished. Then it's worth maybe about 10 lakhs or 15 lakhs. So you are taking the risk of that kind of amount. So though you will be every time going there and showing the property, but sometimes your staff may go, your associate may take, or it may, I know one agent, what he does is he writes the name of the person who has taken the keys. Okay, each time, he will have that login and log out whenever the keys are taken from his office. A good practice. But try and avoid. Take the keys of the apartment wherein the owner cannot come all the time. If the owner is around, of course they can come. So have a limited number of keys of the property. So don't feel proud that you have so many keys in the office lying of the customer. The less the keys you have, that means you are doing more business. You are showing the property and it's gone. So the less number of keys, more business. I'm just saying. But other way around, don't take that risk. It is you are taking the risk of almost 15-20 lakh rupees. Don't do that. If it is for outright purchase or if it is for rent, don't do it. So this kind of people who do this fraudulent activity, they are so smart. For them it is so easy to do all such things. Okay, they're so clever to do all such things. They could have utilized that brain into doing proper real estate business. So I would say there are no bad real estate agents. There can be only a good realtor, good real estate agent. There cannot be a bad realtor. He is not a realtor. He is not a real estate agent if he's a bad real estate agent. So remove that thing. Now, one more thing. Most of the times I have seen people talking about the client. Most of the times the blame will go on the agent. The blame will go on the agent. Now, why it happens is because you are not writing things on the paper or on WhatsApp or on email, whichever communication you find you are doing with your client. Suppose you are communicating with the client, try and put that messages, keep that messages till the delivery of the product is done, till the legal license is notarized. Do that so that if anything happens, you have the communication with you. Do not always be dependent on the verbal communication. It is not possible for everyone to remember everything. Do you know what you did in the morning, early morning, how much you ate, what you ate? Probably sometimes you forget that also. So imagine what you spoke 10 days back or 15 days back or a month back. So put it on WhatsApp, put it on email, whichever communication you are doing. So as far as these fraudulent activities are concerned, try and see that you unintentionally also you do not put your clients into trouble. Unintentionally also I'm saying. Sometimes you don't know, you are not aware. So go to that kind of accuracy level that your customers are safe when they are dealing with you. And when you are dealing with other real estate agents, see that they are coming from reliable sources, they are coming from good organizations, you know them, and whichever city they come from, try and find out if anybody from your association or any of your colleague has worked with such kind of people. I see so many WhatsApp messages coming from real estate agents talking about other real estate agents, talking bad about other real estate agents. No, don't do that. Till you find the evidence, till you find that this person has done particularly wrong, and then find out, go into the depth, talk to 5-10 people and arrive. Because it's very easy to spoil someone's name. It's very easy, and it may happen to you also if you are doing that to somebody, right? So don't do that. And again I say, there is a good realtor, there is a good real estate agent, there is no bad real estate agent, there is absolutely no bad real estate agents. There can be only good real estate agent or no real estate agent or efficient, a professional realtor. Be that. Be a good professional real estate agent and forget about all those people who are doing all this mischief. Try and teach your customers, try and make them aware. But tomorrow I am going to talk to you something about another fraud which happened recently and it's been going on for a few days. Till then, bye-bye.